So one of the basic things involved in the whole Buddhist approach to life is that our happiness and our suffering originate from inside of ourselves. Okay? So this is very different than our usual approach to life, in which we usually think happiness and misery comes from outside. Don't we? Yeah? You wake up in the morning and it's like, I'm in a bad mood. Why? Oh, because I didn't get to sleep long enough. Or because I have to do such and such today and I don't like being with that person, or I don't like doing that. Or I'm happy right now because I get to, go to the beach and I get to, be with people I like. So, our usual approach to life is we're very externally directed and trying to get all the things in our environment that we think are going to make us happy and, get them for ourselves, thinking that will make us happy, and then get rid of everything that seems to make us unhappy. And so that becomes how we live most of our life every day. Don't you think? Yeah? From morning till night, kind of the one thought inside all of us is, how can I be happy? How can I not suffer? And in that way, all of us are exactly the same, just wanting happiness and not suffering. And then if we think that happiness and suffering come from outside, then we're all running around trying to change everything on the outside to rearrange it so that it, things are the way we want them to be so that we'll be happy. So sometimes we're willing to forgo some immediate pleasure to get some long-term pleasure. Like, you want to buy a car, so you have to go to work. So, okay, I may not like work, but I'll do it because then I get to buy the car. Or some people think, okay, well, I want to have a lot of money, so I better get an education because then I can get a good job and then I can have a lot of money, and then I'll be happy. So they forego, they do something now to get the happiness later. But usually, aside from those kinds of things, so often our happiness is focused on immediacy. How can I be happy this very second? Yeah. And so then our mind gets really, we're always looking outside for that happiness, and the world doesn't seem to cooperate. Because it was supposed to be sunny today, and it's not. Yeah? Yeah, it would have made me happy too. And then we could have all had the discussion group outside, and we would have been very happy having it outside. Yeah? And then, breakfast may or may not have been what you like. Yeah? And you don't have infinite choices, although you do have some choice. So, some of you may say, oh, breakfast made me happy, and some of you may be saying, breakfast didn't make me happy. Yeah, I hope lunch is better. And then start thinking, oh, now what in this place, what do they make for lunch? These people are vegetarian. What do they eat? Lettuce? They don't eat onions and garlic. This food is going to taste terrible. I have to eat a whole week of it, And so already, even though lunch hasn't been served, you may already be unhappy about it. Or you may be thinking, oh, gee, I was here for the last week and it wasn't too bad, and and she makes really good desserts when she makes them, but which isn't all the time. And you never quite know if she's going to make them or not make them. And, so, according to what we're served, we're happy or we're sad. Yeah? And then, we're going to be doing some offering service. And it's like, oh, I hope I get to do something I like. Well, I don't know what I like, actually, until I do something. So they're going to give me some things to do, and what happens if I don't like it? Yeah, right, yeah. And, and so the mind always focused on outside, and like this, and then trying to arrange outside so that everything is the way we want it to be. Yeah, so we have advice and suggestions for everybody. Yeah, do you have some advice for your parents? A lot, huh? Yeah, a lot of advice for your parents. Okay, do you have some advice do all of you have siblings? Any of you? Yeah. Do you have some advice for your siblings? Yeah? How they should change, what they should do? How about advice for, either your professors or your boss? Yeah? Have some advice for them, what they can do? How about your friends? Some advice on what they should do, how they should change? Yeah? The government, you have some advice for the government? Yeah. Okay. So everywhere we look, it's like, yeah, I want everything to be a certain way so I'll be happy, and I have advice for everybody and everything. But they don't always want to hear it. Yeah. Because have you tried giving your advice to your parents? Yeah? What happens when you give your advice to your parents? No? It doesn't go well. Yeah? How about advice to your siblings? Does that go any better? No? No? Yeah? So, or advice for your professors or your boss? That one doesn't go so well either. Yeah. So, even our pets, we have advice for what our pets should do. Yeah. How many of you have pets? Yeah. Okay. So, you even have advice. How you want your dogs or cats or pet pigs or goldfish to behave. And they don't even follow our instructions. Yeah. And so we become very, very unhappy, because it seems like everything is dependent on outside, and we cannot control the external world. Yeah. Even though we keep trying to. We do everything we possibly can to control the external world, but the world doesn't cooperate. And then we get angry or we get depressed. Yeah? Because somehow we believe that we should be able to control the external world. Think about it for a minute. Yeah, where did that rule of the universe come from? I should be able to control the world. Where did we ever get that in our minds? That's nutty, isn't it? Whoever said we should be able to control everyone and everything? Yeah? Because if we could control everyone and everything, then that means they can also control us. But nobody's going to control me. And when they give me their advice, when your parents give you their advice, what do you say? Yeah. Or, okay, I'll think about it. Maybe it has some reason. Or maybe you yell and scream and stomp out the door. Who knows? People respond to their parents' advice in all sorts of different ways. Yeah. So somehow we think we should be able to make other people be what we want them to be. But they should not be able to make us into what they want us to be. Yeah. But if we want somebody to like us, like when you're attracted to somebody, then you think, oh, I wonder what kind of person that person likes. Because I'm going to try and be like what I think they think I should be. Yeah? You ever done that? Yeah? You're attracted to somebody? Wonder, what kind of person do they like? How can I become that kind of person? Yeah? So then you try and make yourself into what you think they think you should be. Crazy, huh? And then maybe they like you because you've made yourself into what you think they think you should be. So they like you for a while, but you can't put that on for too long, can you? You know, eventually, like, hey, I'm not really like that. Yeah, this is what I really am like. Yeah, and then the other person goes, ah! Or maybe they're doing the same thing, and they're trying to be what they think we think they should be. So they're putting on some kind of phony this or that or the other thing to impress us so that we'll like them. And then that doesn't last for too long. And what happens then? Then we're the ones who go, ah! Yeah? So this whole thing of relying on the external world and trying to make it be what we want it to be, it's not a very effective strategy for bringing happiness. Yeah. It's the strategy we've been using since day one, whenever day one was, because Buddhists believe in beginningless time, so there wasn't a day one. But, we've been using that strategy, but it really hasn't worked. And the only one that we can possibly change or manage is not everybody else, but this one in here. This is the only one that we know inside out. And this is the only one that we could possibly, make some suggestions to improve ourselves. Although sometimes we don't even like our own suggestions and we get mad at ourselves. Okay. But the thing is, if we can change what's in here, then the external environment doesn't have such a strong impact on us. Yeah. So it's not a thing of blocking out the external environment. It's not a thing of building walls to shield ourselves from pain. In fact, it's actually the opposite. It's about dropping all of our unrealistic expectations of ourselves and others, so that whatever is, we can accept, and whatever is good enough. Okay? Because what often happens is we reject what is. Whatever reality is, we say, I don't like that. It should be different. Yeah. Now, what good does it do to reject reality? Who is going to win that fight? Reality or my wrong conception mind? Okay? Reality exists already. It's one, It's not actually even a battle. But it's my mind that refuses to accept what reality is. Okay? And so that refusal to accept reality causes us so much internal pain. Yeah? Because we get mad at things that aren't the way we want them to be. And when reality is, grade C, but our mind elaborates and makes it grade double A, then, wow, reality is so much better than I ever thought it would be. This is fantastic. That's not accepting reality either. That's painting something on reality that isn't there. And that doesn't work, because, like we were just saying, eventually how things are shines through. Okay? So we find ourselves very often going to two extremes, and sometimes wind up in the middle, but the middle we wind up in isn't exactly great either. So we wind up, we often go to the thing of exaggerating the good qualities of someone or something. And then our mind has a lot of attachment and desire and craving and clinging, and I want that, I've got to have that situation, that person, that object, that, adventure, whatever it is, that's going to be the thing that makes me happy. So we project a lot of stuff on something that it doesn't really have. Yeah? And then we go way up, we're ecstatic. Wow, this is fantastic. But then, it doesn't continue being like that, and then we begin to see what it is, and then we go down. Yeah? And then when that happens, then we blame the other person, or we blame the situation. But actually what happened was we had unrealistic expectations. Okay? Have you ever had a friend that you thought was just my generation would say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious? Do you know that word? No? Yeah, Mary Poppins. Oh, so some of you still watch Mary Poppins. Okay. I don't feel that old. Yeah. But, something is fantastic. If you had that experience, something is fantastic. And then after a while, it isn't so fantastic anymore, and you're disappointed. Sometimes it happens with a friend. You think that person is just great, and then it doesn't work out. Yeah? Or you think, going somewhere or doing this or that is going to be the thing that's going to do it for you. Yeah? And then it isn't what you thought. So that's coming because of we're adding on more goodness to something, so we go way, way high, and then when it collapses, then we come down, okay, and blame. But while our expectation is being met, we're like really happy, we're really jazzed, this is fantastic, and we get quite attached, and then if anything threatens our happiness, we get really upset. Then the other thing we do, so one thing is we project good things that aren't there. The other thing is we project bad things that aren't there. And these two things often go hand in hand. You project something on someone, oh, they're fantastic. then when things change, then they're the worst ones in the world. Yeah? How many of you have parents who are divorced? Really? 2 of you. Okay. Usually, oh. Are they together as a couple, or no? They're separated. Okay. So, can you see sometimes with your parents' relationship, at one point, like, wow, this other person was fantastic, and then now they're divorced, and they may or may not speak to each other. Your parents speak to each other? Yeah, that's good. Do yours? Kinda? Yours? No? Yeah. So, you're not quite sure how it's going to happen, but, you have way big things, and then, things don't work out. And often when things don't work out, then you get a lot of negative energy. You get angry at the other person, or you or just with an object, you get the latest. What's the latest thing widget that everybody's getting? Your latest iPhone 6 or iPhone 10 or I don't know. What's the latest thing that everybody has to have in order to be happy? iPhone 6? Okay. Yeah. Oh, it's 7 now? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. But you think, I've got to get this, I've got to get this. This is really going to be it. But then, you get it, and, you think, now I'm really going to be happy. And then after a week, actually, how happy does it make you to start with? Yeah. Yeah. But you think, oh, I'll be happy when I get it. And then, when you get it, you also have all sorts of problems because it breaks. Yeah. So I always tell people, as soon as you have a computer, then you get reborn in computer hell. Because when your computer breaks, right when you need to do something important, and as soon as you have iPhone or what's the difference between an iPhone and a smartphone? Okay. So once you have a smartphone, then you get born in smartphone hell, because your smartphone doesn't always work the way it's supposed to, does it? Yeah. Yeah. So it's like, as long as we're relying on external things to make us happy, we're always going to face difficulties because of the way our mind projects goodness that isn't there and badness that isn't there. Like there also may be somebody that you don't like, but, when you look at that person, it's like everything about them is bad. Yeah. Can you think of somebody like that? When you look about them, they have no good quality whatsoever. Everything about them is bad. Yeah. Is that realistic? Yes, you say. But actually, really? Is that really realistic that everything about them is bad? I don't think so. Yeah. But what my point is that our mind exaggerates goodness and badness. And then that makes us kind of like an emotional yo-yo. Yeah? Because when we exaggerate goodness, wow, I'm so happy. And when we exaggerate badness, it's, this is terrible, So we're always going up and down, every day. And then that middle that I was talking about is not a balanced mind, which is what we really want. But that middle is, I could care less. You know, I want to zone out, go to sleep, get drunk, smoke some dope, just ignore the whole thing. Yeah. So we have attachment when we exaggerate the stuff, anger when we exaggerate the bad stuff, and ignorance and confusion when we want to zone out. Yeah. So those are mental states inside of us. Yeah. And those three are called the three poisonous minds because they poison our lives. Yeah, they poison our happiness. Instead of just being able to accept things the way they are, you know, we're projecting good, we're projecting bad, we're zoning out. So what the Buddha is trying to help us with is to see these things in our life, and then to... Now, I don't like this microphone. It's causing me suffering. Yeah, you see? Behave yourself. So, what the Buddha is trying to get us to see is that all three of those mental states are unrealistic. And so all three of them cause us misery. And what the Dharma teachings are trying to get us to do is to see things as they are, yeah, with a mind that doesn't exaggerate the goodness, doesn't exaggerate the badness, doesn't want to zone out, but is completely open and balanced and accepting of everything. And while you accept everything, you can also try and make it better. Because accepting means you accept what is at this moment, but the future is a different moment. So you can always try and improve. So accepting doesn't mean that you just say, the world's screwed and I accept that and why try and do anything. You know, that's not acceptance, that's the one of exaggerating the negativity. Okay? So our happiness and our suffering come very much from what's going on in our mind. You know, what mood we're in. And we can see this very clearly, you know. When we're in a bad mood, everything looks rotten. Doesn't it? When you wake up in the morning and nothing happened, but you're in a bad mood, then what happens that day? Yeah. The day you're in a bad mood, you know, your friend criticizes you, and this happens, and that happens, and everything's all messed up. Yeah. The day you're in a good mood, even those same things happen, you react differently to them. Yeah? Don't you? Yeah? When you're in a bad mood, if somebody criticizes you, this is terrible. You know, if you're in a good mood and somebody criticizes you, it's like, okay, that's their opinion. They're entitled to it. That's okay. And you go on. So it could be the exact same situation, but you respond totally differently because of your mood and because of what's going on in your mind. Mm-hmm. You know, like you could come to the course here and you could go like, I'm going to this place where I don't know anybody. Yeah, what's going to happen? I don't know anybody. Are they going to like me? Am I going to like them? I don't know. This is a little bit nerve-wracking. Yeah. And so you come in and you're all like, you know, like nervous and anxious, you know. And or, you know, you can approach the idea with, oh, well, you know, there's a lot of people I don't know, and so it's going to be really interesting, you know. I'm going to get stretched and hear things I've never heard and meet people who've had experiences that are different than mine, and that's going to be really cool. Okay? Now, how you experience it is going to depend on what your attitude is. Because if you go in and you're nervous and apprehensive, what's going to happen? Yeah, nobody's going to come up and talk to you, and you know, all your fear about being alone is going to be actualized because you're sitting there like this, you know. If you come in and you're relaxed and, you know, and you're kind of curious about the other people, then of course you act according to what's going on in your mind, and your experience is very different. Okay? So, you know, it's the more we look at our life, the more we see, gee, what I experience is not an objective reality out there, but what I experience is depending on what's going on in here. Yeah? Which means that if I want to change my experience, if I change what's in here, then my experience will change. Okay? Yeah, we know something's not going to make us happy. He said, well, you do it, it doesn't make you happy. Afterwards, what you knew was confirmed, and yet you do it anyway. It's often because of habit, you know, just plain old habit. And sometimes because at the beginning, one part of our mind says, this isn't going to make us happy, but another part says, try it anyway.
Seems like I remember in the past, like, this used to make me happy. Maybe I'm just not thinking about it.
Right, exactly. You know how they do these experiments in science labs about the mice pecking at the thing? If the mice pecks and it gets 1 grain of rice one time, it's going to keep pecking even all the times when it doesn't get any food. Just because it got the grain once. Yeah? There's always this hope, well, next time it's going to be different. Okay? This is exactly what happens when people go gambling. Yeah? Next time I'm going to hit the jackpot. Okay? And so it's a similar thing, you know, like you had a little bit of happiness from it before, so yeah, this should make me happy, or if I just do it again or do it another way or something. Yeah. So this is really, it involves, this is where kind of some self-discipline helps, you know, which we're not always good at, which is actually why we take precepts, ethical precepts, because the ethical precepts help us not do what we don't want to do anyway. You know, like maybe somebody has a drug and alcohol thing going on, and, you know, it's like, oh, well, you know, taking this used to make me happy, and kind of bored now if I go out and drink or drug, you know, yeah, that should be good. But one part of your mind saying, you know, I gotta stop this. This is not getting me anywhere, you know, and I'm gonna feel crummy afterwards. But then the other part of your mind says, but maybe it'll be different this time. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And so it's at that point where you really need to call forth your wisdom. Yeah. And sit down and say, okay, here's the situation. Let's imagine, this is what I do sometimes, let's imagine doing this. And imagine I'm doing it, what it's like, and how I'm going to feel afterward. And how am I going to feel afterward? Crummy. So let's save myself the feeling crummy, But it's like you have to call your wisdom up and play out the scene, and say to yourself, look, I've done it before. And so this is how the situation is going to come out, because that's the way it's come out nearly every time I've done it before. Yeah. So play it out, and then is that the way I want to feel at the end? No, I've been there, done that, got the T-shirt, enough. Finished. Yeah. And so then you exercise some restraint and don't let yourself do the things that aren't going to make you happy at the end of the road. Okay? When we take precepts, the ethical precepts, for example, there's one precept about not taking drugs and alcohol, recreational drugs, medical drugs. If you have a prescription and you follow it, that's okay. But recreational drugs, yeah. And so if you take that precept, then then it can be really helpful, because then even the thought comes, oh, let's go out with my friends or drinking or drugging or whatever it is. You say, oh, but before I thought about that situation, this situation very clearly, and I realized that I really don't want to do it anymore because it's not getting me anywhere and I'm winding up really miserable. So I took that precept when my mind was completely clear, knowing, that with a wish for myself to be happy and with self-respect, that I'm not going to do that. So I've already made that decision, so I don't need to even think about this now. There isn't even a decision to be made. I am not doing it. Yeah. And so the power of taking that precept can really help you at that time. It's like, I've already decided this before. I'm not going to get confused now about whether to do it or not. Yeah. So it can be very, very helpful.
Also, at the end of the day, after you've done that, maybe sit down and review kind of your day and how you felt not being there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, very much, very much. That's really good to review it at the end of the day and say, wow, if I had done that, where would I be now? So today really worked out very well, and I'm really happy with the choice I made, and I'm going to continue with that. Yeah? No, we need to pat ourselves on the back. When we do something valuable and useful and meaningful, we should definitely pat ourselves on the back.
Well, it's a little different topic.
Uh-huh.
This is something that I've kind of been thinking about lately, especially being here. I guess I have a question that a clarifying sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Is, my background is super Catholic, and so it's really weird to be here and everything like that. And I've had some experience with Buddhism. One of the things I'm still really hesitant with is I feel like it's a little bit worshipy.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping you clarify it and almost speak to it better, because I don't want to
Okay. Well, first question, is Catholicism worshipy?
Yes, very much so, and
Uh-huh.
I don't like it because of that.
Ah, okay.
or even having that background of it being believing in a god or whatnot, I don't even know what. But I always am hesitant because I don't want to be worshiping.
Right. Right. Okay. So you remember yesterday when I was talking about the 3 different kinds of faith? And actually the word faith can be translated as confidence or trust too. And one of them was the faith that's based on conviction, and that's the one where you really learn and you check things out and you see if they make sense logically. You try them out, you see if they work or not. And so through your own experience and your own thought processes, then you determine whether something makes sense or not. Yeah. So, so it's completely up to you. Yeah. And that's why I said, if you don't want to do any of the worshipy things, completely okay. Because also if you have no idea who the Buddha is, doesn't mean anything. Yeah. So that's why it's always better, listen to what the Buddha taught, and then you can make up your own mind about what you think about it. Okay? Because that's exactly, when I first met Buddhism, well, I had been to Nepal and I had seen some Buddhist things and stuff like that. But at the first course I went to, I knew absolutely nothing. And, there were men wearing skirts, the robe, and women with shaved heads, and, people bowing, and it's like, this is kind of weird. Yeah. And one of the first things that the teacher said was, you don't have to believe anything we say. And I said, God. Yeah. And then his saying that enabled me to be able to listen with an open mind. Because at that time, I was so sick of people telling me what the truth was. Everybody has the truth with a capital T, and they're all pushing it on you. You've got to believe this is the truth, you've got to believe, or else. And it was like, I don't want any of that stuff, thank you very much. So, when the teacher, said, you don't have to believe anything we say, good. I like that. Yeah. And so I didn't believe anything they said. I really did, except the thing I did believe was, think about it and see if it's reasonable, and try it out and see if it works. And so I did that. Yeah? Yeah, so you have complete freedom here. Yeah? Yeah. It's not like you have to do something to fit in. Yeah, otherwise, everybody's going to look at Beth and say, no, that's not going to happen. Yeah, that's good. So you're saying instead of just saying, I'm fed up with all religion, throw it all away, it's like, what particular things do I want to be careful about or avoid or whatever? Yeah, that's quite good. That was reasonable. That's a good way to approach it. I didn't do it that way. But, because in looking over my childhood religion and, and then trying out other religions when I was a kid, and then when I went to school, seeing that people were killing each other in the name of God in every generation, then I just threw religion out altogether. So what you're doing is much smarter than what I did. I just threw it all out and said, this is all just corrupt stuff. I don't want anything to do with it. Yeah. And then, of course, I went to the opposite extreme. Yeah. So I was a 60s, 70s kid, so. Yeah. But, yeah. I think that's good to see, what is it that gives you problems? What is it that, might hold water and what might not? Good.